Hey, my name is LeLand Gantt, and I'm here being honored by Mark Clayton Southers to read one of his Chronicles. I want to thank him for giving this artist something to do, a reason to get out of bed in the morning, and, a reason to shave. So here we go. This is Chronicle number 17. It's called Anxiety. I had my first, second, and third adult anxiety attack all in a matter of 5 days. Now I say adult because I don't think I had one since childhood. I'm assuming I had at least one. You'd have to ask my mother about this. If you ask my dad if he was still with us, he'd think for a minute and then tell you about the time he took me on the Ferris wheel at Westview Park for Madison School's picnic. I'm not sure why they call it a picnic. We never really put down a blanket and chowed down, but anywho, that's what it was called. Now, I was a little apprehensive about getting on this rickety thing. This Ferris wheel was huge, and it seemed to be from another era. I mean, the whole park seemed to be secondhand to Kennywood, but we didn't care. The Madison School picnic was a big deal to us students. We all went out and got new outfits. The more gifted of us made our own. I went downtown to get mine, with my mother, of course. We ended up at a place called K's. They used to have a catchy slogan they used on their radio ads with an African-American woman singing. It went sort of like this. K's can't fit any man, tall man, short man. K's can't fit any man, fat man, skinny man too. Now come to K's and you will see the finest clothes of quality to match your personality and your pocketbook. And your pocketbook. Yeah. I had to consult with my man Wally Jamal on the lyrics. I think we came close. So we looked through all the clothes in my size, and we finally settled on this one-piece chocolate brown double knit zipper down the middle jumpsuit. It looked great. My mom approved. I think it cost about $16.99. And that was a lot of money back then. I mean, I checked it out on Google, and the year versus year calculator says in today's dollars, it'd be about $97.06. It was 1972, and I was on my way to the school picnic. Yeah. All my friends were decked out. Georgie, Earl, Chuck, Greg, Derek, and Pooh came, and the ladies were just as sharp as well. Lawson, Pam, Marsha, Cindy, Linda, Kelly, Laverne, Lindora, and many, many more. Man, we hit the park in style. Now, later on in the day, my dad says to me, well, let's go on the Ferris wheel. No, I wasn't going to be a punk in front of my dad, so I say, yeah, okay. Let's do it. So we get on, and right away my body is telling me this ain't a good idea, right? I brace myself, and it starts, but it goes backwards. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute, this is wrong. And as it slowly goes backwards, my anxiety slowly begins. Now it's starting to go a little faster, and after a few rotations, it stops and starts going the right way, but it's too late. My body has already said, fuck it. It starts to go faster and faster. Now it's moving at full speed, and every time I go past the operator, I'm asking him to stop. I'm yelling at him to stop. I tell my dad, please ask him to stop. Yeah. After about 7th or 8th time, I guess he notices I look like I'm passing out, so he slows it down to a stop and lets me and my dad off. I know my dad must have been embarrassed, but it doesn't matter. I just needed my freedom from that death machine. I ran to the nearest bathroom to reach the big white porcelain basin to catch my potential discharge. Once then, nothing really happened, so I ended up going to sit on the toilet to calm down. Now, I always thought that the toilet was a place of comfort, now, preferably at home, but this would do. I mean, the bathroom was filthy, as it always was, as they always were this time of the day. Urine and debris were everywhere on the floor. So I placed toilet paper on the toilet seat like my mother had taught me. I wiggled out of my new jumpsuit and pulled it down to my knees and held it tightly. I was now fully relaxed. Now, as I sat there, I slowly drifted off to sleep. Now, I don't remember what I dreamed about, but I know it wasn't a dream of me conquering that Ferris wheel, riding it with sparks shooting out of it at full speed. Now, I'm not sure how long I was asleep, but when I woke up, my $16.99 jumpsuit was no longer in my grasp. It had fallen to the floor, covering my new Chuck Taylor tennis shoes. I immediately went to grab it and pull it back up, but it seemed to be heavier, quite heavier. I leaned forward to look at it and noticed that it was now a darker shade of brown. Yes, my double-knit James Brown jumpsuit had become a sponge and had managed to soak up all the urine and dirty floor water for a 10-foot radius. All that DNA was now collected in my outfit. I stepped out of it and pulled up my tighty-whities, which had been spared of the muck. I said goodbye to the heavy brown material as I deposited it into a large trash barrel. I headed back out to the park in my white underwear and my white Chuck Taylor tennis shoes. Now, I knew I was close to the parking lot, so I made a beeline towards it. I ignored the curious onlookers, none of which knew me, thank you, Jesus. Once outside in the parking lot, I quickly located the white Chrysler. Now, we didn't lock the doors back then, so I was able to get in. I got in the back seat and eventually fell asleep. When I woke up, we were halfway home. I explained to my parents what had happened, and it was all good. My mother covered me with her light jacket as we made our way to the Hill District. And that, my friends, was my first panic attack. Now, my second, third, and fourth ones all happened in the space of within the last week at the rehab center that I just entered. The most recent one was yesterday, and it wasn't pretty. Now, the problem has been identifying the root of them. And they wanted to put me on all kinds of meds to help, but I refused them all. I wanted to understand the problem and conquer it myself. Now, the first time we're thinking was because of low blood pressure. But I'm inclined to think it was also because it was my first time outside, and also because my body wasn't used to sitting up in the wheelchair. Now, who really knows? But, Now, the second and third time was when I entered the large gymnasium for physical therapy. Now, just like outside, everything got blurry and white, and I had to be rushed back to my room where I dry heaved for several moments. But once in the bed, I felt like it was my comfort zone. Now, the last episode was the worst. It was sort of like a double attack. When they wheeled me back to the room, after a while, I asked to be placed on the toilet instead of on the bedpan in the bed. I had never been on the toilet before. Well, at least not since the accident. So we made our way to the bathroom. Now, getting me on the toilet was a task. It took 3 nurses and nurses' assistants, and my fixator on my leg was problematic. But eventually they got me on there, and I immediately moved my bowels. Now, they left me alone, and after several moments, I felt at ease. Yes, I was on the toilet once again and enjoying my place of comfort. Now, occasionally someone on the other side of the door checked on me. After a while, I figured it was time to get off and get back to my comfort zone in the bed, so I pulled the red rope next to the commode to alert my nurse. They were there within minutes. First 3 and then a 4th arrived. They had me scoot forward, and then one of the nurses cleaned me. They were all about business. Then they attempted to lift me to my wheelchair, but my left leg with the fixator on it had other ideas. It slid away from me, causing pain, and then the anxiety jumped on me quickly. The room changed. Everything started to slow down. They peppered me with questions as they tried to get me to comply with their request to get me to my wheelchair. One woman asked me, how did my accident happen? I told her, not now. Not now. Well, eventually they got me to my bed, but I was full tilt. I got on my mobile phone and called my wife for comfort. "What's wrong, baby? What's wrong?" she replied. And in my most panicky, snot dripping, shaking like someone who just saw a ghost voice, I said, "I'm having a bad panic attack. I need you." She told me she'd be there shortly. That alone calmed me down somewhat. My speech therapist was sitting quietly off to the left of my bed, observing it all and offering bits of comforting advice. And I eventually calmed down and dozed off. When I woke, my wife and mother were there, and once again, I was in good hands. And there you go. That's Anxiety, Mark Clayton Southers.